Hands are clean, baby.
Hands
Don't
are clean. Okay, I just want to
clean.
make sure. You went to the bathroom quite quickly, and I'm like, just want to make sure that the hands are clean.
Okay, but here's the deal. Can you start the tape? Because I have a question about men using the bathroom.
I'm ready to go because I have the same question I know you're going to ask. Go.
Right. So you're supposed to go to the bathroom, right? And if you're a male, right, you have male genitalia that you have to use your hands to help you utilize the restroom, right?
That is correct.
And then they always say you need to wash your hands.
Some of us are just able to.
No, wait. Is this really the show?
Yeah, this needs to be the show, dude. So listen.
Some of us are just able to just go and not use your hands, but keep going.
Well, some of us need two hands. You feel what I'm saying? Okay. Some of the big fellas on the podcast need
Working
two
with
hands.
a monster. Working with a monster.
So here's my question. I always never understood this part. They always say you got to wash your hands because you handled yourself. Shouldn't you be just as concerned about making sure that yourself is clean? Because that would mean that by you using the bathroom and you got to wash your hands when you finish and you ain't touching nothing else but yourself, that you're not clean. Isn't that what that means?
I would say yes. I mean, you think about it, it is a part of your body. And if you touch yourself on the face, you touch yourself on the leg, or you scratch your butt or whatever, it's kind of like the same thing. This is the way that I look at it.
Hold on for a second. Y'all really have given this that much thought at this moment?
you got to give it that much thought because, you get so many people who are always like, did you wash your hands? Did you wash your hands? My wife is always like, did you wash your hands? Did you wash your hands? That's a whole other conversation we could go into about, did I wash my hands? And I'm like, why does it matter if I wash my hands or not? But that's a whole other conversation. At any rate, I think about it like this, right? When you give somebody DAP, I don't know if I want to give Lamont DAP, not knowing that he did not wash his hands after he came from the bathroom. So let's just say, Maynard just came from the bathroom. He didn't wash his hands. I got to give him DAP now. Now I got his residue on my hands. I don't want that on my hands.
Yes. Right.
I don't want that residue on my hands at all.
Right.
Period. But I understand your bigger point, which is, but dang, if you going off on me about I didn't use my hands or I didn't wash my hands after I left, but all day long I've been, feeling on myself or, not in a sexual way, but, I've been touching myself. I've been touching my feet.
You got to readjust.
I've been touching my hands. Yeah. I've been touching 14 other people's hands. I've been giving dap to, giving hugs, so forth and so on. And now you're tripping about this. To your point, you should be always with some hand sanitizer, man. Should always have hand sanitizer.
And you know what I thought about this? And the person that comes up with this will be a gazillionaire. Just think about all of the doorknobs and door handles that you handle throughout the day when you're moving out and about. You know what I mean?
Car, opening the car door, opening the door to go into work, so forth and so on. There's plenty of germs that's, that's in your hand. But I'm not a germaphobe, but now that we're having this conversation, maybe I need to rethink being a germaphobe. Because they're everywhere.
So in the Mike Tyson movie on HBO a long time ago, Don King's character, the guy who played Don King, walked in the bathroom and he was walking out of the bathroom and said, "Did you wash your hands?" He said, "No, I wash my hands before I use the bathroom," because he's saying what y'all been saying. Yeah. He's been out in the world, interfacing with other people, touching money.
Yes.
And he's saying money is dirtier than anything I could ever have put, my junk in, basically. Mm-hmm. And so there's one thing, but then just going back to like some of the new science or some of the new thought around hand sanitizer, they say the hand sanitizer is actually what's making us sick because we're not getting the germs and some of the bacterias or viruses or whatever, kind of what MRSA is in the hospitals, is medically resistant, whatever that is. Because we're not getting the viruses and stuff or whatever, the bad stuff, our body don't know how to fight it. So then when we get hit with it, it's worse than what it should be because we've been, hand sanitizing so too much.
Well, let me just clear the air because since Spud said he don't want to give me no dap, I just want to go on the record.
I want to give you dap. I
just
want to be able to make sure.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
You're not transforming your private residue into my hands.
Listen, let me finish. Let me finish. I want to go on the record and let you know, and everybody else know, that I am a molten brown black peppercorn user. Okay? So I'm good.
For the audience, this is some rich stuff that we have absolutely no idea about. This is something that they order offline that's not in Whole Foods or not in the health store. And so don't go out to any store today and try to look for what Lamont just said. So explain to us what the heck that is.
No, you don't know what molten brown is?
No, we don't know who molten brown is.
Listen, dog. Listen. They got the body washes, they got the hand washes, they got the sanitizers, and they got all these flavors. And the best one I found was black peppercorn. I like my Jesus to be black, right? I like what? What?
We didn't get a check, but Lamont got a check.
Right.
We didn't get a daggone molten brown black peppercorn check.
Listen,
go ahead and finish your endorsement campaign.
I'm just saying. I like, just like my Jesus. I like my body washes, my hand washes, my sanitizers. If I can get them black, I need them black. Now, yeah, I mess with the black soap sometimes, but this molten brown, right? Liquid hand soap, yo, bro. I'm good. I'm straight up. I'm smelling like black peppercorn. Life is great.
Can I ask? Can we talk about Sky Daddy for a second? Because you just went into you like your Jesus black, and I just read on the weekends I do a lot of reading and stuff, and so I just reread a book that one of my favorite books, which is by Dr. Naim Akbar, which is Breaking the Chains and Images of Psychological Slavery, and so in that book he was talking about how America has basically put a face on Jesus, and that is a big no-no. That Jesus, how can you have an actual face put on Jesus? That would basically mean that he would be the same as you, that he would not be immortal, right? And so how can you have your Jesus black when there shouldn't be a face on Jesus? We got quiet. They got quiet.
No. Watch this. I want to put my mom into the mix, right? So as a child, my mama always, was it Easter time, whatever it was, we would always watch the 10 Commandments. You remember that? That would always come on ABC. That's like 19 hours long.
Not one black person in the movie.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember Charlton Heston being Moses. I remember some other white lady being the queen of this and of that and the boom, bam, boom. And I was like, well, where are the black people? And I guess as I got older, I said, well, maybe because the actual creators of this television production all wanted to have somebody that looked like them. That's why all of these characters that came from the continent of Africa, nobody was in the sun because everybody was pale. I just figured that, since it was my turn to create something, that I should have a black Jesus.
Yeah, but I'm just curious. So how are you creating a Jesus?
How
did you wake up and say, you know what, God, I'm going to create a black Jesus? And why are you not out spreading the world about spreading the message of your black Jesus? Why are you not out there doing that?
You talking about me?
Yeah,
No, because he has other, as I said before in a few podcasts ago, Black Jesus has account reps all over this world.
Not account reps.
Black Jesus got account reps.
Yeah. Yo, dude. he got.
He's talking about Black Jesus like it's a multi-level marketing skill.
Maynard, I read a stat, and it said like over the past 20 or 30 years, that black churches in the United States have collected like over $300 billion or some crazy number like that. And I said to myself, that is probably possible.
That's very possible. It's quite possible.
So if you think about $300 billion, like what we as in the Black Jesus crew could, we really could be, we could alleviate a lot of issues we got out here. But it's what I want to ask you.
The problem is, with that statement is, I don't know of many of those account reps that are actually out here discussing Black Jesus. I think they still talking about white Jesus.
Well, some of those, black account reps are not putting a face on Jesus at all. Like before, when we were growing up. Like we were growing up, you would walk into a church.
And look.
Well, you might be. Well, I don't know. I can only speak for myself. So, or the churches that I have been to that have black account reps, right, which are pastors in this scenario. However, when we were growing up, you would go and you would see nothing but the white Jesus.
Right, but you know what, Spud, you know this from being in advertising and radio for years, right? When they say I'm loving it, what do you think of?
Think of McDonald's.
Right. Do they even have to say McDonald's anymore?
No, absolutely
right.
not.
So they don't have to show you a white Jesus. You know that is white Jesus because they've already convinced you that Jesus is white. So they don't have to put up a picture of Jesus in the church. They just say Jesus, and when you close your eyes and they say Jesus, you see a white man with curly blonde hair that goes down over his shoulders with blue eyes and a mustache, and he even got a goatee.
Lamont, go ahead.
I mean, what else is there to go? I mean, I think we have to understand that the most powerful tool right now is the internet, correct?
Yes.
That's where we get a lot of information, a lot of commerce has popped off. And we all know that Google is one of the biggest search engines out there.
Correct.
So I just challenge everyone. Just go on your little computer machine and go to your Google and just type in the word Jesus and see what comes up.
Yeah, white Jesus pops up.
All day, baby. Curly hair, looking like,
But I want to go to your point, though, and then we'll start the show. But, but go dive into your point, though. But why have you come up with the thought that you were going to make Jesus black?
Well, I just kind of use a little bit of a common sense method. And I'm not saying even with curly hair, is that if we're going to go by the story of Jesus and where Jesus was born, and right now we're allegedly in the thing of climate change. So if we go back to the AD time, which, where the polar caps were not melting and that it was really, really hot in Africa, right? Because some people still going to call it the Middle East, but it's not. It's still a part of Africa, the continent of Africa. If you telling me you out and you building, pyramids out of clay and straw, and you walking across this and you doing this and you going to the mountaintop in Africa, you're gonna have some sort of, even if you're the whitest of white, you're gonna have some sort of color in your skin.
Well, let's back up, because what you talked about was the 10 Commandments, right?
Okay.
And the critical figure
allegedly, and not to cut you off, Maynard, because I think they cut it off at 10. There's supposed to be some more.
I'm not aware, but
gotcha.
But the critical figure in the 10 Commandments is Moses, who was born in Egypt, but Charlton Heston. So I mean,
wait, why you dancing, man? That's what makes me angry.
He didn't dance. If you didn't pick that up,
I'm just trying to let people go ahead and make their make their own conclusions. If you didn't pick
that up, then shame on you. If you didn't pick that,
I didn't pick it up. Is it what?
Charlton Heston played. What character did Charlton Heston play?
He was Moses.
Okay, and Charlton Heston, does he look like Moses? Does he look like an Egyptian is the question.
No, but he was open that day to come shoot. You know what I'm saying?
No Egyptians or any black people are available. And everybody was.
No, you can go through the cast and crew list and look hard for anything that even remotely sounds like it's Egyptian. I see a lot of what we like to call Anglo-Saxon names. A lot of white folks.
Anyways, let's move on.
There was a man in here named Ahmed Salased Ahmed. He played a slave.
Oh, you talking about on the 10 Commandments? Now, wait. And Spud, let's keep it 100 since you want to talk about Sky Daddy and even the 10 Commandments. So I just want to make sure I was clear.
Come on, man. Jesus. Let's give Jesus his props. Give him respect
that
man.
I can't call him the Black Jesus?
Respect too.
Okay. Let's respect Jesus.
Over other people?
Yeah, is that only respect?
Wait. I'm not going down this trail.
Jesus greater than.
I'm not going down this trail.
Why not?
hold on. You told us we had to respect him, and
we gotta respect his name, right?
Why?
I mean, we call him Sky Daddy, which is funny. That came from Brother Polite. So I mean, which is hilarious to me.
Brother Polite.
That is hilarious to me. But you know, you gotta call it. We can't call him Sky Daddy.
What's wrong with Sky Daddy?
And there's nothing wrong with Sky Daddy. I actually like Sky Daddy better than Jesus.
But why? Is it we still? I'm looking for truth. I'm really looking for truth. What? Who is Jesus? He's the son of. Is he the son of God? Is that what you're telling me?
Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they.
But see, no, Spud, no, Spud.
Nobody can explain this to me.
And see, Spud, that is my issue with some of the black clergy that I've grown up with over time, and just asking a question, because Maynard has a very valid question that at least is worthy of conversation. And don't just, and then when I ask a question of, like you just said, the Ten Commandments was made in 1956, right? Mm-hmm. So we still know in 1956 in the city of Detroit, in the city of Cleveland, in St. Louis, probably in Virginia, God forbid how we as black people were treated in those times. Uh-oh. Like when the sun go down, my man, you don't need to be over here, bro. In 1956. In
1956.
56. Uh-oh. So you mean to tell me, right? But you, and this is to my mama, and I love my mama. Right, but you mean to tell me you want me to sit here and you almost brainwash me with this particular movie? And just what was going on at that time about this story. So as I'm now entering 50s, I can't ask any questions.
But the question I have is this, does it matter?
Yes, it matters. Yes.
Tell me, but why it matters?
You know why? Because on this podcast, we sit here and complain and we tell people to go vote and do all this because we want things to be better. But when we want to ask a question of things that actually happen, we're told, well, that doesn't really matter. Because if that's the case, then nobody should vote, right? At all about the midterms. Just let Donald Trump and his crew just do whatever it is that they want to do. Because why should that matter?
It doesn't really. I mean, because ask the question of,
so now we're telling people not to vote?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, ask this question. What has voting done for black folks? If you go back to 56, what has it done for black folks?
Well, let me say this overall, and this is me personally.
Well, and I'm more for black folks than Jesus.
No. It's technically it has. I don't want to say this, man, but we probably gonna get kicked off on all platforms because when the Jesus police come and hear this, we are in trouble.
We are officially getting kicked off at this point.
Jesus didn't pass the Voting Rights Act. Jesus didn't pass the Civil Rights Act.
Wait a minute, Jesus didn't pass the Affordable Care Act. Let's get current. Let's get current with it, buddy.
Jesus didn't erect the historically black colleges.
But Jesus died for your sins, for all of us to be able to hear, to be able to benefit.
Who told you that?
But for us to be able to benefit.
Who told you that?
You that.
But Jesus
Pastor Greenleaf.
Pastor Greenleaf.
And I mean, and this is the thing, and I'm sorry, people of the podcast world, people of the radio world, whether you be in Cleveland or whatever other city you might hear us in. I know a lot of black folks. I was raised in a Christian household, and this is challenging everything that we believe. And at the end of the day, I believe this, that in certain societies and cultures, that people wanted to keep things in order, and they couldn't keep things in order because if I tell the two of y'all we should do this way or that way or the other, y'all be like, well, who are you to tell us? But if I tell y'all, hey man, this is not, these aren't my rules, but the boss called me and told me to tell y'all that y'all can't do such and such, then as long as I can make it something that y'all can't see. If I say I come down, look, They were killing each other in the times prior to the 10 Commandments coming out, right? People were killing each other. People were sleeping with each other's wives. People were stealing from one another. And somebody was like, yo, man, we can't keep things together and get money out here if Joe is sleeping with Tom's wife and then they fighting and they killing each other. So Moses goes up, and this is my opinion. Moses goes up and comes down a little bit later with some stone tablets from a man or from a spiritual being that never existed before. Nobody had talked about God prior to this. And he says, hey, he told me y'all can't be sleeping with each other. And this is not my rule. Y'all can't be sleeping with each other's wives. And then that's all of a sudden became how we supposed to live. Y'all can't be killing each other. That's how we supposed to live. And they just try to organize this and said, instead of blaming another man for creating the rules, they said, yo, Sky Daddy did it. And it worked. But the thing was, Sky Daddy also told people, or they've used Sky Daddy type stuff to tell people, you women, y'all ain't supposed to have rights. Y'all can't be in the pulpit. Y'all not good enough to lead communities. You women shouldn't drive. If you're Muslim, you women should cover your face and do what your man says. Or Lamont, as you brought up in a couple of shows ago, you as a woman, Sky Daddy told you to walk 5 steps behind me at all times.
And Maynard, can we read from Sky Daddy's book for 1 second? This is my favorite.
Oh my God, here we go.
This is my favorite.
Here we go.
Listen, no, but no, none of Jesus's customer service reps. I even asked to speak to a supervisor. They don't want to talk about this one. No, I said I want to talk to a supervisor. You know what I'm saying? Can you get a supervisor on the line? And it's Ephesians 6:5. It says, slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear, and with the sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. So, Maynard, what'd you just talk about order and putting everything in place and the whole shebang?
Listen, slaves, we try and get this money.
Come on,
now,
man.
Hold on. Now, this is what happened. Masters, we out here trying to get this money, but these slaves are trying to uprise. So how do we keep these slaves in check? You know what? Don't let us say it. Let Sky Daddy say it. Yeah, write that in the book. Write that down. Sky Daddy said, y'all better obey y'all masters.
Well, actually, it's not Sky Daddy. It's actually Paul, so that's a totally different.
Same idea. Once you put it in the book, it's all attributed to Sky Daddy.
Well, not necessarily.
Once it's in the book, because what's the boy Joel Osteen say? This is the Bible. This is what it's true, et cetera, et cetera. It's the word of who? What's the Bible? The word of who?
Sky Daddy.
Sky Daddy. Even though nobody was there writing, nobody was actually writing stuff at the time that these things happened, right? The New Testament doesn't get written for 300 and some years after Jesus dies. Now, Spud, you and I worked together at Radio 1 17 years ago. If I told you a story that you couldn't remember from 17 years ago, would you take it at face value that I was just telling you the truth?
There was a lot of.
But you're going to take Sky Daddy's word in this book as the gospel and the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And the first time anybody put pen to paper on it is 300 years after Jesus passed. There wasn't even the printed word for another. The Gutenberg press is several hundred years after Jesus died.
Yeah, but that don't mean that they didn't put it on paper. Just because it wasn't able to print.
Hold on,
still put it on the scrolls.
The first time it's written is 300 years later.
So what? So let's go. So Lamont. So you're telling me that there is no Jesus, that you have just created. What are you telling me? So you're saying that Jesus has walked the earth, and that Jesus, but you have just put Jesus as black and not as white. Is that what you're saying?
No, here's what I'm saying is that ever since the creation of, I think on this land, that nothing is just as what it seems or what it's told to us to be. Okay? That if we're going to take and again, I just like to, because there is something before slavery. I never forget, I heard somebody say, I forgot who it was, is that black people did not start at slavery. Okay. We had an existence before slavery, but let's just park it at slavery for me and where I start, because I can go back in my family. I can't go back in my family before slavery. I can go back to slavery. And when my great-great-great-grandfather was a slave in Mississippi, he was told that if he was caught reading, that he would be killed. But the preacher on the plantation, it's okay for him to read as long as he's reading the Bible. Now, to me, in my 2018 common sense mind, tells me something's wrong with that picture. So all I'm saying is I'm going to ask questions. A, why was that preacher allowed to read this book and teach the other slaves? And if they were caught reading anything else other than this book, or they couldn't read the book, they just had to go by what they were told. And it's like what Maynard said. It's like, if I tell somebody something, I can kind of put my own little sauce on it. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, how they say the monkeys, you tell one monkey at the beginning and you get down to the 10th monkey, it's going to be something totally different. Yeah,
the 10th monkey is just going to do it. Why? Because that's how it's always been done.
Exactly. So all I'm saying, is first we got to stop this foolishness of not asking a question. And we're told, it's like, oh my God, how is it that you can't ask the pastor a question like that? Well, why not? I'm not being disrespectful. I just really want to know. I'm being very genuine. And in my belief, I believe that Jesus or God is not going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Is not going to chastise us for asking a legitimate question.
Well, you're not answering. Okay, well, I'm asking the question which you're not answering. Is there a Jesus or is there not?
Well, here's what I also think. I think that there is something, and it may be something that we might call Jesus, but somewhere else in the other part of the world, because this is my other thing about the story of Jesus, is that it also says, and I remember this clearly, if you do not follow this way of Jesus, you are going to be damned and go to hell. So I always ask the question, well, what about the people that are on the other side of the planet that are naturally good people, but they follow something else?
Right. You're saying that.
I don't think the question should be, is there a Jesus or is there not a Jesus? I think the question is there a God, A, and B, and if there is a God, is Jesus the Son of God? Did he do the things that the Bible says he did? Because again, I said this once before, if this man Jesus walked and he was a great philosopher, as George W. Bush said in the debate, he was the philosopher that changed his life. Listen, I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. Did he heal the sick? That all of a sudden, that takes us to a supernatural. Did he rise after 3 days? That takes us to supernatural. Is he returning to earth? Is he going to come back and save everybody? And he's going to fly around in the sky and then take the good people and kill off the wicked? That's what we're really talking about. We're not talking about did Jesus walk the face of the earth and do good things and tell people to love thy neighbor. Tons of people have done that. Martin Luther King Jr. did that. Gandhi did that. So that could easily exist. The question is, was he born of a virgin birth? Did the star shine and lead the magi to him?
The three wise men.
The three wise men. Did he, heal the sick? Did he walk on water? Did he say, peace be still, and the wind stop blowing? Did he have these kinds of powers? And did he turn water into wine? If he did those things, then my goodness, we have a divine person.
So why are you questioning that those things happen?
Because this never, ever happened ever again. So in this world, we believe.
Wait a minute. Wait, Maynard. Did you Spud kind of sounded like a slave master for a second?
No, that's why.
Yes, you did. You said no, Maynard. Did you hear what he said?
Why are you questioning that? That's a valid question. You just said we should be able to ask the questions. I'm asking.
Right, and you're right. So I should be able to question that. And the part of the reason why I'm questioning that is because, or not even part, because we live in a world based on science, right? Everything you do in this world, you base on science. If you mess around, Spud, today, and you say, man, I got a really bad headache, there are a couple of scientific things that help you. One thing is you should drink water. Scientifically speaking, the body is made up a certain amount of water. You could be chemically unbalanced or what have you. You drink some water, sometimes you feel better. Or you take an aspirin or an NSAID or whatever the case may be, because it's a pain reliever and it blocks certain pains. And that's science. If you got shot and you were bleeding, scientifically speaking, you're supposed to take and apply direct pressure. So you believe in science for everything. You put gas in your car because science tells you that gas makes your engine go, until you start to think about this other thing where there's no science that supports it at all. You just believe it. If I told you to go out to your car and just pray over the gas tank that there's going to be a full tank of gas that's going to take you to California, you wouldn't do it. If I told you that if you get shot, just pray away the hurt, you wouldn't do it.
Let's go here, right? So let's go back to the Egyptians. Let's go back to the pyramids. Let's go back to, that part, right? So let's just go back to the pyramids. Every scientist, to your point, has basically said no one can figure out how they even were able to build the pyramids. Each stone, 2 million stones, all 2 tons apiece, all of them in precise order. Those things were able to happen. So it's hard to think about those things that they even happened. That was able to be able to do those things in a time where they had no technology, or they had, I don't want to say use the word technology, but they had no ways of thinking the same way or use of materials the same way that we had. But they're there. The same thing.
That's a lie. See, that's a lie. So listen to what you said. They had no technology. Where are the pyramids?
I took that back. I took that back. I took that back.
Where are the pyramids?
In Egypt.
Where is Egypt?
In Africa.
Where is Egypt? Okay. So now what they will tell you is that the West, we always talk about the West. That is Europe. That is the European world. That they discovered everything, right? They will tell you that the West is where all of the great inspirations of all the things existed. Because white people can't figure out how the pyramids were built. Wait a minute, let me finish. Because white people can't figure out the way the pyramids were built doesn't mean that they didn't have technology.
Yeah, but
they had technology.
But
the West didn't understand it.
Wait, hold on, Maynard. But you just said, but the Bible was written 300 years after that. Doesn't mean that there wasn't put on scrolls, doesn't mean that they did not have any recollection or record of what the Bible was saying. And just because it was written 300 years later doesn't mean that those things did not happen. And the same thing that you're basically saying right now. Just because we're in our brain saying that the pyramid. So I'm just saying that those things could have happened.
Except this, Bud, and you know this already. Except the historical records of the Bible are inaccurate by several hundreds, by several thousands, by in fact tens of thousands of years. If you believe in Christianity, therefore you believe in the Judeo-Christian concept. If you believe in the Judeo-Christian concept, we only like 5,000, 6,000 years on this earth. That the world was that God created the world 6,000 some years ago. We know that dinosaurs are millions of years old. So that's crazy. That's just crazy. So we can't.
So are you telling me that there is no God?
Yes.
And so we are supposed to believe what? The Big Bang Theory?
We're supposed to. I don't know. Yeah, fine. You can believe that if you want. You can believe that. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But this is what you should. These are the things that you should believe. You should believe this: that when a man has sex with a woman, and that a sperm impregnates an egg, that's where babies come from. And then you will live a life, and you will die, and you're not going to the sky, and you're not going to hell. You're just going to be dead. That's it.
So you don't believe that there is a soul that lives within your body, and that your exterior is just skin and just your physical makeup. And so you mean to tell me that there is nothing that's going to happen to your soul when you are put 6 feet deep under?
No, there's nothing that's going to happen to my soul. No.
Now that's now me and this is where me and Maynard we part ways.
Demonstrate. This is what I'm saying. Demonstrate in any way, shape, or form where somebody's soul has left and done something. There's no proof of that at all.
Here's what I'm gonna say, Maynard. And I never forget one of my homeboys. He said this to me. He said, "Lamont, listen." And this wasn't about Skydaddy. This is just in general. We were talking about something about trying to understand something. Yeah. So my man, he said to me, he said, "Lamont," he said, "Do you fully understand the science of how an airplane is able to fly into the sky without it just falling?" I said, "Technically, I don't fully understand the full concept of it." But he said, "Well, Lamont, you still get on that plane, don't you?" I said, "You know what? I sure do. And if it's Delta or United, I don't have no questions, whatever." So I think it's like, I hear a lot of stuff that you're saying, Maynard, but I'm just willing to believe that man himself is, as I was on that airplane one day and you just look out the window. And again, this is very basic for me. I just feel like somebody had to create this. Some higher power did create all of this. Now, is it the version of everything that we're taught, like you just said, or we said earlier that, or even the last podcast about how, we don't really know who really laid out the plans for Washington, D.C. until we found out and did the research. I think Skydaddy's the same way. And I'm glad you clarified. When we talk about Jesus and God, that's two different things. Jesus himself is the Son of God. And technically, I think in order to make wine, you do have to start with a little water. So that's not too far-fetched to turning water into wine. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a lot more of the process to make wine. Like you just don't. Don't be like, okay, here goes some water, here goes some grapes. Let me squeeze this in here. And no, you got grape juice. You ain't got wine.
Look, Lamont, go ahead and plan a party for January of 2030, and just put some water in a bucket and seal it up. It'll be water in 2030. It'll still be water.
No. What I'm saying is that there's a process.
Sure, but the Bible
in the wine process, but in the Bible, and it's just me, and some people that are all, we have these people in our family of us, and even probably some people listen to this podcast are going to think that we're being disrespectful. But see, I think that's one of the things that we have to get away from is not being able to ask an intelligent question, and that's all we're doing. And for people like you that have the opinion that you have, it's okay.
So let me go back and try to make sure I state some things in fact, and not just because I threw this out there, and I want to make sure I clarify the record here. According to the Hebrew calendar, it is the year 5779, and so basically it says that the creation that the creation of time, when God created the earth, was 3761 BC, and if you add that to 2018. Excuse me, that will give you 5779. That's 6,000. That's less than 6,000 years. Do we really think that the earth is less than 6,000 years of age? And then someone will say, because I hear Spud getting ready to warm it up, but why is that important? Why are you asking that? The reason why you ask these things is in order to believe in Jesus and in God and in all these things that are ordained in this fashion, in order to follow it, these things have to be true. And if one thing is false, you're like, okay, well, you know what? They made a mistake here. And if another one thing is false, they made a mistake here. But if at some point he didn't walk on water, he's not coming back, and this didn't happen, and that didn't happen, and he didn't rise from the dead, and the earth is 10 million years old and not 6,000, then you realize people just made up this religion. They just made it up.
I think that when it comes to religion, you are able to believe what you think resonates with you. I agree with you with where you're going. But when you look at Hinduism, Buddha, I was watching the Aztecs. I mean, it could go on and on and on and on about what people believe. Indians, how they believed in gods, and you could go on and on and on and on and on and on. Going back to what Lamont was saying, it's hard to just accept the fact that when you go to Eastern culture, that these people are not going to a positive afterlife, whether if you want to call it heaven or not, because they believe differently than we do. Because they don't believe that there is a sky daddy, that they believe that there is multiple gods, whatever it is, right? That part's fine. It is what it is. It is what it is. To say that there isn't anything spiritual, metaphysical, or anything that you want to say that has created this life, that part is a little hard to swallow. Yes.
All right, so
let me just say this. I'll be done. Yes, you're right. In regards to, 50, 54, whatever the word is, 6,000 years ago. Yes, we all know that there was life before that. We can all, some of the people, if you want to look at Asar and Aset and, Heru and, that whole thing where a lot of people say that Christians, took the actual Christianity and Jesus, where they stole that from. That's the story that they stole that from. That's fine. That's all good. We all know that. But to believe and to know that even beyond the Christian story, that most people believe that there was something beyond this planet. To say that there's not.
So my deal is this, my dude. Let's just know. If you Google the oldest religions, right? 40,000 BC, 40,000 years ago. 40,000 years ago, there were people who walked the face of the earth who believed in a religion. It's 40,000 years ago. But we believe that some 35,000 years later, that God created the earth after 40,000 years before, and Moses went up to a mountain, and God spoke to them. Why didn't, and then the question is, he spoke to Moses. Why is Moses so important? Why hasn't he given anyone else some commandments? Why hasn't God appeared again? Jesus said he's coming back. When's he coming back? When's that going to happen?
You waiting on Jesus?
No, I'm living.
Well, Maynard, no. Maynard, because you got to come like in the thief in the night.
So
you got to go to sleep. You got to go to sleep, man. You got to go to sleep like Santa Claus. It's like Santa Claus, man. You got to lay down.
You got to do what? Go where?
Go to sleep.
You got to go to sleep.
Yeah.
You got to sleep your damn logical mind. You got to sleep your mind and just say, now, this is the thing that you understand. For years and years and years, before science really got going well, most people lived on the face of this planet to 40, 50 years of age. Now science is doing great things. People started living until 70 some years. Now people live into their 80s, live into their 90s. Some people may even live past 100. But at the end of the day, this life has a distinct beginning and a distinct end. And we pray. Think about the stupid stuff we say.
Ooh.
If you get sick, that's just the devil. If you die, God had a plan for you. That's dumb. That's the dumbest thing. If somebody shoots you, that was the devil trying to kill you. But if you die, that's because God wanted to take you so he can plan. He had a plan for you. Is it the devil or is it God? Which is it?
Yeah, but wait a minute.
How can it be both? That's the dumbest thing in the world. We tell us.
So you mean to tell me that you don't mean to tell me that there's evil forces in the world and there are positive forces in the world?
I think there are evil people and I think there are positive people. Absolutely, certainly. But if you didn't tell me that, somebody say, "Oh, the devil." I remember going to this church. I had a church as a client. I will take their money. I don't have a problem with that.
Oh,
I had a church
we're really getting kicked off now.
I had a church. I mean, they're a business at the end of the day. Everybody running a business. So I had the church as a client. And I know this reverend and his wife. I knew them when I was in college. And I knew when I was in college that his wife, she didn't cook. They went out to eat every day. At least 2 meals every day. They didn't cook. And they liked to go to Golden Corral. That was their favorite place. And he had a heart attack. He came back to church 2 weeks later and said, the devil tried to kill me. No, you've been eating butter and gravy and salt and fat, and you're going to blame it on the devil?
Maynard, I was going to ask you.
Trying to hear that foolishness?
Maynard, what's the Golden Corral? What's that?
It's a buffet.
Hey, wait a minute now.
You can
Back
get
up.
all of the saltiest, fattiest foods.
Maynard, stop it.
What?
Stop
I like Golden Corral
Stop it,
sometimes.
Maynard. Stop it. Ain't nobody answering that for you, man. Nobody answering what no damn Golden Corral is.
No, I've never heard of that. What is that?
Pick up the dang pick up your
Google
phone,
machine?
your Google
Okay.
machine, and type in Golden Corral. Now everybody ain't eating.
Lamar knows. He knows what the Golden Corral is. He went to Tennessee State. He knows what the Golden Corral is. He knows he went to Tennessee State University. Golden Corral is a fixture. But so he wants to come back to church and tell him that the devil tried to kill him. It wasn't the devil. It was gravy. It was the sweet tea that you get. Science said, so listen, we understand there's something called the survival of the fittest. The survival of the fittest says, look, if you take care of yourself, if you work hard, if you're strong, and I'm talking about even just exercise, right? That you're going to build your body. If you build your body, you're gonna if you avoid smoking and whatever, then you're gonna be strong. If you eat fatty foods, you're not. This life said you no longer need to be here because you're not taking care of your body, and that's what was trying to kill you.
And who created that? Who created the body to be able to respond to that?
Science. Yeah, listen, evolution. Let's just be honest. There's more information, and I don't care what Cat Williams says. There's more information that evolution exists than anything else. We can point to it. We could look at certain species that are.
What did Cat Williams say? I missed that.
He's made a statement one time saying.
Well, first of all, why are we quoting Cat Williams? That we shouldn't do that.
Okay, well, let's move on from that then. I don't even want to get into.
I want to hear what Cat Williams had to say.
He said,
Cat Williams is pretty smart. I like Cat Williams.
He wasn't smart when he was in Philadelphia, and he decided he going to.
That is very true. Let me take that statement.
That was not smart. You're going to get stomped out. You're going to get stomped out.
All right. Okay, so what did Cat Williams say?
He just basically was saying something to the effect of, why would y'all believe that evolution if y'all ain't evolved? Like, why aren't y'all flying yet? There ain't been no more evolution. You've been living and walking. Don't you want to fly to work? Or something to that effect. He's, it was some idiocy. But I'm not. I'm good. I'm good. It's taken me a long time to say this in public. I'm just not following that any longer. God love you for your thing, and that's it's a statement. You enjoy believing in God, and that makes you feel comfortable. Then you should feel comfortable, and that's your business. It's not my fault. I don't disagree with you about how you live your life. I'm not living my life that way.
And so, tell me how you're living your life, just so I'm just clear.
I live my life saying that the things I see in front of my face are the things that are truth. Simple enough. Listen, if I'm hurt, I use some kind of medicine.
So there's no faith. So you don't believe anything beyond what you see.
I believe you're born, and I believe you're going to die. Simple as that. Every life is punctuated with an even better death. And that's just simple as it gets.
Whoa. I'm confused. Is punctuated with the who?
So a punctuation is what? That's the end, typically, right? A period or an exclamation point or a question mark, to speak of it in our grammatical terms. A period is the end. That's the end of the sentence.
Okay.
You can live a good life. Death is perfect. Death is perfect. It does not fail. No one has gotten out of life alive. Death will always occur. Every life is punctuated with death, and it is perfect. It doesn't fail.
And you don't believe that the body that you're walking around in, as soon as we are all around you at your funeral singing, what's the song that we all got to sing when the cage bird sings, or what's the song?
No, are you talking about Keep Your Eye on the Sparrow?
Eye on the Sparrow. When we all are singing Eye on the Sparrow at your funeral.
Wait. He said the cage bird?
That's a book. That's Maya Angelou book. But the Eye on the Sparrow is what I was looking for. So when we're all singing Eye on the Sparrow at your funeral, you don't believe that your body, your soul, the thing that is inside of you that makes you think, that makes you walk, that makes you talk, that makes everything that's within you is not going to go somewhere else.
No. First of all, let me say a couple of things. If you come to my funeral and you start singing a bunch of songs, y'all wasting your own time. I'm going. Y'all should go on and do what y'all gonna go do. Y'all wasting y'all time.
Listen, I want Eye on the Sparrow on my funeral. I just wanted to say.
Step two.
Wait, baby. So you don't want us to come to the funeral, man?
Y'all come to my funeral. Y'all there more than 15 minutes. Y'all wasting y'all time. Second, there shouldn't be. Don't sing nothing religious for me. Sing when I die. After I want to go to, because I'm a piece. Sing. There should be some Biggie. There should be some Nas, or it should be some Run DMC or something at my funeral. Don't go in there and find something. And if somebody stand up and talk about how good a Christian I was, and I let his work.
No, clearly we're not going to talk about that. We're clearly not going to talk about that now.
Right. And at the repast, don't serve no chicken. I want cheese steaks, and I want Utz potato chips and black cherry sodas. And somebody should be outside shooting dice behind whatever building y'all doing this in. And
so wait. So a minute ago you told the Reverend, and I just got through looking up Golden Corral. they have a brunch. They have a brunch until 2.
Hey, listen,
I didn't know.
And it's $19.99 too. The Golden Corral, y'all going up on your prices a little bit much. You want to just say?
So I'm looking at all the salty, fructose-induced food that they serve, and you want to have cheesesteaks at your funeral?
Yeah.
What does a cheesesteak do, Maynard?
Well, he's from Philly, so he wants cheesesteak.
Deliciousness, baby.
But it clogs up your arteries, bro.
I don't. So what?
You going already?
Lamont, I don't care what you do. I don't care what the average person does in America, black, white, Chinese, Asian, whatever you may be, Jewish, gay, straight, divorced, single, married, I don't care. You're going to get 75 to 83 years on this planet. That's pretty much, that's the average. That's going to happen. And so I'm looking around. I was with my father and my uncle this week, and my uncle turned 80, and he's doing well. He's eaten every piece of pork imaginable. He ate something for years called hog head cheese.
Hog head cheese. That's the South right there, baby.
He ate souse. He eats scrapple, like scrapple just is like he has a scrapple machine in his refrigerator that just keeps producing it. He eats chitlins regularly. He's 80 and he's doing well. You're going to live. My grandfather, my mother's father, died at 83. He smoked every day of his life since 14 years of age, he told me. He wanted to drink in the emergency room. He was in the room and they stabilized him. He said, no, not drink. He wanted me to go out there and give me my cigarettes. Daddy, you can't have cigarettes in there. He said, I'm 83. I can do whatever I want to do. You know what? At the end of the day, hey, that actually is kind of true. You're only going to get 80 some years if you're lucky. So what are we doing? We lying. We telling ourselves if we pray, we're going to live longer. We telling ourselves certainly you want to eat the better foods to help try to make your time on earth better. But once you get to be 80 years old, what you doing? I just want to be able, you can cut off these feet and these arms and I can't see you, but God knows I'm still here. No, enjoy this life. I'm not trying to hear all that foolishness. And I'm done.